I'm going to have a look at artificial intelligence and the AI revolution today, what I believe its impact is going to be on the jobs market, a little bit on politics as well, because that's the meaning of this channel, how politics affects us and how, in essence, powerless the politicians are to affect any of this change. It's happening well above their level of understanding. But in order to get us going, to start this long ramble, long video off by my standards anyway, I'm going to play you a video. Now this video was created by AI, the images were created by AI, the videography was created by AI, the music was wholly created by artificial intelligence, as was the singing in this, and indeed the direction of this video was that AI produce one of the ways that humanity may possibly turn out in a more dystopian future. And AI took that and ran with it. And this is what it came up with, just as a small demonstration. And it knows what you like, it knows what you want, and it also knows what scares you.
Today, we're going to talk about something terrifying, our future. I want you to picture this. Oh, picture this. You wake up tomorrow in your bed that adjusts to your perfect sleep cycle. Your coffee brewed exactly how you like it. Your news curated for your bubble. Your entertainment selected for your mood. And you feel nothing. 'Cause somewhere in the night while you were sleeping, the world learned to run without you. Your job automated, your creativity replicated, your expertise downloaded, your perspective simulated, your passion projects generated in seconds. You sit there in your perfect automated morning with your perfect personalized everything, and you realize nobody called, nobody texted, nobody needs you to solve anything, nobody needs you to create anything, nobody needs you to show up, nobody needs you. And that feeling you've been pushing down, that dread creeping up your spine, that voice you've been silencing finally speaks. Will I matter anymore? Will I matter anymore? Do I matter anymore?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where AI is at today. And people will tell you that only human beings can create works of art. It's a complex philosophical question. Very, very interesting. But that's not the meaning of today's video. I wanted to take a look today at artificial intelligence and its effect on the jobs market in the United Kingdom, because the government is trying to make lots of plans related to the economy and failing in a spectacular way, I would add. But can the government really solve this problem? And the answer to that is no. There is an intractable problem here, a problem that is deep, and the fissure that AI is creating within the jobs market isn't just going to crack it a little bit, it's going to smash it. And within the next 5 years, I believe that we are going to see an earthquake off the Richter scale related to employment. And this is going to be coming into the public consciousness very soon. Although at the moment, Reform are riding high in the opinion polls, and they look set to do very well over the next few years, though politics can change quickly and things happen. And right at the moment, everything is about migration, law and order, small boats, etc. There is something that could supersede that, and that is the need for people to eat. Now, eating, living, providing shelter, looking after your family, these are all top of everyone's agenda when push comes to shove. And what is the effect? What's going to be the effect of artificial intelligence? Now, you can be forgiven if you're the type of person who is going to work, or even retired maybe, and you would go about your daily chores, you would wake up, you would look out the windows, you make your coffee, and you may be forgiven for believing that not really much has happened. Technology is crawling along at roughly the same pace as it always did. Not to worry about it, you're not going to see any dramatic changes potentially in your lifetime. And all this talk about central bank digital currencies and self-driving cars, that's coming down the line obviously at some point, but sometimes this stuff never really appears, so we don't have to worry about it. So here's a little video I've got for you just to kick this discussion off, of a self-driving Tesla robotaxi that was being driven around yesterday. As of April 2024, in the United Kingdom, there were 381,000 licensed taxi and private hire vehicles. Now, you could count within that, well, there's a few extra Ubers, etc., and all of that. But think of it, and you think yourself about how you feel if you were a taxi user. The question is, would you like to get into a vehicle without a person in it? Well, the first thing is that you don't have to talk to the person. So to me, that's a plus. Sometimes taxi drivers can be quite grumpy. Sometimes they can be really cheery and nice, and you can have a nice conversation. All of that said, I'm recalling this from history. I can't actually remember the last time I used a taxi, but people do use them. I see people outside supermarkets, putting their shopping in, their weekly shop, etc. But if a taxi exists that can drive itself, that you can book on a mobile phone, that's never late, that just drives itself around, works 24 hours a day, can be called at a moment's notice, does the job just as efficiently. In fact, it's been proven, and it looks as if the self-driving technology is going to reduce traffic accidents that taxis are involved in, and indeed all vehicles are involved in, by approximately 90%. So it's safer. So you've got safer, you've got nobody to talk to there, which makes the journey a little bit more relaxed, and you've also got cheaper as a result, because you're not paying that taxi person to drive you around. You're part of the operating costs of a vehicle, and so that drives down costs. So cheaper, easier, more effective, safer. So already you can see where this is going. Certainly if you're a woman, you might want to choose to get in a taxi where there isn't a man there. That seems to be in the news this week as well with Uber, where women can actually ask for female drivers. Of course, this is all coming far too late, because quite soon this full self-driving technology is going to be everywhere. Now, you may not know this figure. I certainly didn't until I checked it out. I always knew there was a lot of vans driving around the place. But in the UK, there's about 4.1 million vans just driving around the place at any given moment. And approximately 2.5 million of those are your white van man, your typical stereotypical white van man. And of course, that stereotypical man in there is slowly becoming some women over a period of time. And so approximately, it's been estimated that about 40% of people that drive these vans, so it seems to say on the interwebs anyway, are women. Now, I don't believe that 40%. I think it's a little bit less than that. But regardless of anything else, this affects men and women on a fundamental level. So of those, we'll call it 4 million for the sake of argument, of those 4 million vans driving around there, how many of those are for deliveries? But if you've got a self-driving van driving deliveries around, you still need the person in there. Well, kind of. But let's say for your quickly delivered Amazon parcel, which is already sorted at the factory using robots, the amount of actual employees in the Amazon warehouses is dropping at a rapid pace. And if you actually go in and you look at some of these videos, what you'll see that there is a few people kind of lingering around making sure everything's working okay, and just to sort out any small issues. But as a general principle, mainly in the larger Amazon warehouses, and this has been integrated on a global level, you'll see that there's just little robots flying around the place. You'll also see that in some sorting places, there are robots who sort through packages without the need for human beings there. And that's a whole other area of warehousing that is being destroyed. But we don't even need to go as far as that. I'm just looking at driving today. So let's say your Amazon parcel is being delivered, and let's say there is a hatch in the side of the car, and Amazon sends you an email and it says, we're going to be delivering your parcel to your door. Now, if you are prepared to walk out of your house and walk up to the little hatch in the side of the van and put your little code in and get your parcel, we'll give you 10% off. So would you take that? Amazon know full well how to market their products to you. They don't want to pay drivers. They don't want drivers because drivers and human beings are highly inefficient in that they need breaks, they can't work all day, they also crash, they also steal things, they also nasty to customers. The full range of problems that humans bring. However much I, enjoy dealing with people, Amazon know the human cost of what it takes to deliver that parcel. So given that point there, what do you think is going to happen? Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Of those 4 million, a huge amount of them are going to lose their jobs. Let's look at long distance van drivers or lorry drivers. Think on that. If you've got a computer system running a lorry that's monitoring everywhere around that lorry, and that has to go through ports, it has to go through various things, it'll speed up the time that lorries take going through these checkpoints. You also ain't getting any unwanted passengers because the van knows exactly what its weight is and it can see everywhere all of the time, even underneath the vehicle, and it knows whether the inside has been tampered with. This would speed up customs, speed up the journey, and the best part for these logistical companies, this lorry can drive 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at zero cost apart from fuel. All of those jobs are going to go. Now, of those 4 million people, I think we can safely say, let's be generous. And let's say it's only going to affect a quarter of these people. So that's 1 million. Look at all of the taxi drivers. We're already at 1.5 million. And I've just chosen full self-driving technology. And that's one element of artificial intelligence. Another element of artificial intelligence is the effect it's having on blue-collar workers. Blue-collar work, where you would call up, for instance, a call centre. Call centres are very prevalent in the northeast. People appear to like the Geordie accent. I don't know why that is. I just see it as another accent. But nationally, it's a little bit like the Scouse accent. Apparently people do like the Geordie and the Scouse accents generally. But a lot of the time when you speak to a call centre, that is what you would term blue-collar work. And so the effect on blue-collar work is beyond what people have any level of understanding to comprehend right now. Those jobs are being destroyed. And if you want to know how quickly they're being destroyed, call your broadband company with a fault and see how quickly you get through and speak to a human. I know I had a fault with my broadband. So what I did was, I found the number, I called up, and the system told me. It said, hang on a minute, I've just sent you a text message. And I thought, have you just sent me a text message? So I looked on, text message, yeah, there it is. And it said, click this. So I clicked it. And then a message came to me on the screen that says, we're just checking your router now. And then I got another text telling me everything was going along. And then I got a message saying, we've switched your router off, we've switched your router back on, we're testing the local connections in your area, and we've worked out it was this and that. And anyway, we're rebooting, there you're back online. The whole process took about 2 minutes. So, all of those jobs, when you used to call up with a broadband fault, you'd get through to a nice young lady or a young man, and they'd have a little bit of a chat with you, probably told by their bosses to get you off the phone within kind of 5 to 10 minutes-ish, and go through a few of these every hour. Those jobs have gone. Really, the only people that like calling these companies are people over the age of 40. That's what the studies are showing. The studies are generally showing that if you are of an older, more mature persuasion, then you enjoy talking to people more. If you are younger, particularly those in the kind of 18 to 30 bracket, they're not calling anybody. And as the age goes up, you find people like to call people. But a huge amount of people have completely shifted to online now. Online management. That's what the companies are doing. That's what they're offering. They don't want you calling up because that uses manpower and time. And so what we're looking at there is approximately 2 to 3 million jobs which will be disappearing over the next 5 years. Now, I've just listed there 2 areas of which AI is having a huge impact. Yes, as the politicians say, the AI revolution's here and it's increasing productivity. It certainly is increasing productivity, yes. But what it's also doing is destroying the jobs market. And I wonder what's going to be happening in 2029 when everyone wakes up one morning to realise that 3 to 5 million jobs in the United Kingdom have just disappeared overnight. What do you think the reaction's going to be among the populace? I think it's going to be the most pressing political agenda in the future. Everyone's talking about migration at the moment and it's blowing up and people are fearful. All of that is true, and I've, as you well know if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I've discussed this in depth and will continue to do so. I discuss the news, I discuss the political news, and almost continually this is in the news. That's why I talk about it so much. But this issue that I'm talking about here with AI, this I believe is going to supersede that. Because whilst fearing for, your women and girls' safety and all of those things is a real threat to the people of this country, I believe. And migration is changing us culturally and all of the demographic stuff I've already discussed. People need to eat. People need to clothe themselves. People need to look after their families. People need to provide shelter for their families. And at that core level, at that base level of what's happening in the world and how AI is going to affect us, we are going to be confronted very, very, very quickly with the potential for UBI or Universal Basic Income, simply because that's all that can ever happen. Now, I am a capitalist. You may know this about me. I run a small business and I love making money. I love, doing things and striving for a better future. All of that stuff is great in my opinion. But without any doubt, this stuff is going to start impacting people's lives on a massive scale in a very, very short space of time. So we can expect by 2030, around the time of the next election, this is going to start hitting really hard. And full self-driving technology, when that hits, that's going to be a problem. The blue-collar work is already being destroyed, and I haven't even touched on management jobs, thought jobs, middle managers who collate information. And every job in front of a computer, in essence. Just to briefly touch on it, because this isn't really meant as a scary video, although it scares the pants off me. As an approximation, approximately 39% of the workforce sits in front of a computer to complete their workday in totality. And every single one of those jobs is at risk. So not only do we have the van people who drive around, not only do we have the blue-collar workers and everything like that, we also have the rest of the people. And what we're essentially looking at is, approximately by 2030, around half of all jobs are at risk. Now, it may take a few more years. Let's be generous. Let's say that these firms aren't going to integrate with AI straight away, which I doubt because it affects their bottom line and companies are very efficient at doing that. Let's be generous and say 10 years. In the next 10 years, we're going to lose about half of all jobs. And at that point, we are going to be confronted with a specific change in humanity. And we're going to have to find meaning in our own lives. It's going to change how we consume products because people won't have as much money. It's going to change the economy itself. It's going to change how mankind views itself. Because if we're not having an economy based upon consumerism, if we're having a life and everything, the everything code happening, the divine code, as it's being called in some places, if we're not having that, what are we having? Do people actually have enough meaning in their lives? We all saw what happened in lockdown. It was almost an internet meme, people getting divorced because they'd never actually spent any meaningful amounts of time with their spouse at home. Think on that. Where do people get meaning from? And these are very broad, deep, and difficult philosophical questions which we are ultimately going to have to face. But the coming AI revolution is going to take humanity itself on a global basis into a brand new era. And it's going to happen really quick, really fast, and it's going to be especially intense for everybody. And no one's going to escape, because ultimately, even if you're one of the people that gets to keep their jobs, you're just going to be taxed. So everyone will be making about the same amount anyway. Worrying about have you made your pension contributions at that point, it's not going to matter. There's not going to be the money there to pay your pension. These next 10 years, what a time to be alive though. What a time to see this, what's going to happen. It excites me and scares me all at once. And those two feelings, the combination of those two feelings, it's an excitement that I have for this. Although I am very worried about how it's going to affect people. Think of the change. Could you live a life with meaning that didn't involve work? Who are you as a person? Who are we as a humanity? What a time to be alive, people. Thanks very much for your time.